Welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Show Recap Podcast. I'm Ty from the Unemployed Architects. This week I got 3 shows to talk about. I had Friday night at the Windjammer. I had Saturday at the Bear Island Outdoor Bar and Resort. And then Wednesday I played over at Schooners in Bloomington. So those were the 3 shows. Also did a lot of mixing for the new live album that's about to come out. So get right into it, I guess. Getting ready to go on my Indiana, Michigan little run. So might be a little quick here. Of course, I can't get things done in a timely fashion pretty much ever. But so anyway, this is what we got. Windjammer was Friday. There was a big festival in town called Tailgate and Tall Boys that I think significantly affected the draw, unfortunately. And so that was a bummer. But there was like one large table and a few other small tables that were, there and digging what I was doing, and kind of made it all worthwhile, really. Because if there wasn't the one big table, it just would have been a really rough night. And it was outdoor, and it turned out to be a really nice night, which I'm sure was great for the festival as well. But, I don't know. Played pretty standard set. Covers to originals. I kept it pretty light on the sound. It didn't feel quite in the pocket, but, it sounded good enough, I think. And there were a few songs that definitely popped out, made a difference, but I've been really digging the Goodnight Chicago song. Every time I play that, I pretty much get chills, I think. The Goodnight Chicago by Rainbow Kitten Surprise. Such a fun song. So, it was a pretty standard set. Nothing too crazy. Sold a record, which was good, and made okay tips and all that, but I don't know. It was kind of a rough night, and then I feel like they really wanted me to get out of there pretty quick. I don't know if they usually do 7 to 10 or 8 to 11, because I was 8 to 11 outside, so might have been different than normal, but it was fun. It was a good show. Just wish there was a few more people there, but understandable. And then Saturday was kind of the same thing. It was earlier show, 6 to 9, so it was just hard for me to kind of get up for the show. And most of the clientele was pretty much just children, I think, most of the audience. And because it's like this it's called Bear Island Resort, so it has this big indoor water park and all that stuff, but like an amusement park, a bunch of lodges. They recently had that big fire, I guess, that burned down a few cabins. And for what it was good. Not really how I'd want to normally cap off my weekend or anything, but there were some kids there that were dancing. I always get a kick out of that. And some families. It was Father's Day weekend. There was a huge wedding, and there was this thing where it was like the bar had messaged me earlier in the week and asked if I could do an extra hour, and this wedding that was there would have paid me extra to do it. And I really wanted to, but it turns out the timing was off, because they thought I played till 10. And then they wanted it till 11, because that's when their indoor bar closes, I guess, was 10 for the banquet hall. And I was only scheduled till 9, so I was done. If I would have played the extra hour, most of the people still wouldn't have been out quite yet. So didn't really work out. And of course I was a little salty, because as I was packing up, I was starting to get really busy at that bar, because everybody from the wedding was making their way over. And the people, the wedding were the people that had asked, so it's like, I know that they would have been fans of because they wanted to have some live music and kind of enjoy it. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but it sounded pretty good. And there were definitely a few crews of people that came out throughout, and the lady that booked it was there, so she got to kind of see me in action, which is good. And I mean, I was done relatively early, back home in a reasonable time, so all that being said, you know, it was okay. Watching the kids dance. There were a couple kids that were really into it and having a good time, so that always just puts me in a better mood, I think, in general, for how lackluster I think the rest of the crowd was. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty cool little spot. I'm back there later this summer, so hopefully it'll be a little... But, you know, with it being Father's Day weekend, and it also, there being the big wedding that rented out most of the cabins that weren't going to be out for the... You know, you just can never predict it. At the beginning of the show, the bartender was saying they were going to have me set up kind of further away because it's been pretty busy out there. And so they wanted more room for the bar. And then, you know, with how it turned out, it was very unnecessary. But, you know, it was fine. And then probably the most fun show was this last Wednesday. I played at Schooners in their beer garden. A little hot to start, but good crowd and, you know, good atmosphere. They have a bunch of, like, nice shady trees. I really want to get their tenderloin. They have such good tenderloin. I kept seeing people eat these crazy burgers and tenderloins, and it looked delicious, but I didn't get a chance to do it. But some familiar faces showed up, and that was nice. And one of my old friends, Jay Dietrich, came out and with a big group of people for like maybe 45 minutes or so, hour, and I got him up and he sang a song with me, so that was cool. Hadn't done anything like that in a while. He has such a good voice. But yeah, I just got really good reactions that night, really good everything. I mean, it was all around just a really fun show, and I really hope that I'm going to be back there at some point. And then I've been working really hard on the mixing of the live album from the TV performance, and I don't know, I think it sounded pretty solid. There's like 17 tracks, which is crazy, but I don't know if all of them are going to make the cut. Really, there's probably 19 or 20 that I would have thought about, but I've cut in a few that, you know, weren't the best performances, but I got my first round of mixes on Monday, and I was just like really excited about it. And then, of course, I got it in my head that the mixes were just mastered too loud, and the kick drum was overloading most speakers I plugged it into, which I like a lot of kick. I asked him to boost the kick, and we're only, you know, mixing a wave file ultimately, so there's not really a lot, so we pushed up the frequency a little bit to bring it out a little more, the frequency that the kick was on, and it was very prominent, and the overall mix was like hurt my ears kind of. The volume was all the way up, and it just seemed really loud compared to other live stuff I've listened to. And so I had them cut the master down a touch, and then I had them cut the kick quite a bit down, and now I'm like afraid that I went too far with it. So that being said, I'm probably going to be back in the studio one more time. Just ridiculous that I need to go there 3 times to mix a singular wave file. You know, I don't know, it's stupid, but it's gonna be what it is when it's done, and it's gonna be what it is forever. So it's gonna be my first TyJon Charlie release, so, you know, I want it to be pretty good, and I think that's really the only way. You know, if I have to be there a 3rd time, pay a little extra money to be happy, I think it's worth it. I think we got the master where it needs to be volume wise, but that kick drum is getting lost, and I really want, you know, people to realize when they listen, I'm doing the one-man band performance, so I want that kick drum to really be there, because it's like, you know, it's a lot more work, it's a lot harder, and I feel like my vocals might get a little bit more, people might not judge them quite as hard for not being perfect, because they definitely are not perfect. They're live, I mean, sounds live, but anyway, so I'm excited. I think I'll probably get that done the next couple weeks, and then I'll start to release some singles from that. Start to get the YouTube videos edited and I'll put up, so that'll be exciting. And the second set will air in July, so that's not too far off. But anyway, that's pretty much it. As always, I appreciate anybody who takes the time to listen, and I will talk to you next time. Have a good one. Bye.